Welcome. As the day fades and the world quietens, allow your mind to drift. Tonight, we embark on a tranquil journey through the annals of time, exploring 100 fascinating historical events. These are moments that shaped civilizations, sparked innovation, and illuminated the human spirit across millennia. From the dawn of human ingenuity to the complex tapestry of the modern age, each event offers a gentle glimpse into the past. We won't delve into dramatic conflicts or intense narratives, but rather seek to understand the quiet significance, the subtle shifts, and the enduring legacies that ripple through history. Imagine the quiet vastness of time stretching behind us, an endless expanse filled with stories waiting to be discovered. Each event we touch upon is like a single star in a cosmic calendar, shining with its own unique light. We'll explore inventions that transformed daily life, ideas that changed the way people thought, and pivotal moments that redirected the course of nations. This is an invitation to simply listen, without the need to remember or analyze. Let the gentle flow of information wash over you, like the calm tide on a peaceful shore. Allow your thoughts to wander, or to simply rest, as we journey through the captivating landscape of human history. As we move from one era to the next, you may find your mind settling, your breath deepening, and a sense of calm enveloping you. There is a profound comfort in connecting with the past, in understanding the long and winding road that has led us to this very moment. So, find your most comfortable position. Close your eyes if you wish. Let the gentle cadence of these historical reflections guide you towards a night of deep, restorative sleep. Our journey through time begins now, with the first quiet ripple in the ocean of history. The dawn of agriculture, the Neolithic Revolution. Around 10,000 years ago, a profound shift began to unfold across various parts of the world. This was the Neolithic Revolution, a gradual transition from a nomadic, hunter-gatherer lifestyle to one centered around settled farming. Imagine small groups of people, once constantly on the move in search of food, beginning to observe the growth cycles of wild grains and the habits of animals. They started to intentionally cultivate crops like wheat and barley, and to domesticate animals such as goats, sheep, and cattle. This was not a sudden invention, but a slow, evolving process, taking place independently in different regions like the Fertile Crescent, China, and Mesoamerica. The implications were vast and subtle. With a more stable food supply, communities could grow larger and remain in one place. This led to the creation of permanent settlements, the building of more substantial shelters, and the development of specialized tools for farming and food storage. The landscape itself began to change, as fields were cleared and water resources managed. This fundamental change in how humans obtained their sustenance laid the groundwork for everything that followed. It allowed for the accumulation of surplus, the emergence of crafts, and ultimately, the intricate social structures that would define early civilizations. It was a quiet revolution, yet its echoes resonate through every aspect of modern life. The invention of writing, Mesopotamia's cuneiform. Imagine a time when words could only be spoken, vanishing as soon as the sound faded. Then, in ancient Mesopotamia around 3400 BCE, something truly remarkable began to emerge: the invention of writing. The earliest known system, Sumerian cuneiform, started as simple pictograms, small drawings representing objects. Over centuries, these pictures evolved into wedge-shaped marks pressed into soft clay tablets with a stylus. This shift made writing more abstract, more efficient, and capable of conveying complex ideas beyond simple objects. At first, writing was primarily used for administrative purposes, keeping records of goods, transactions, and agricultural yields in the burgeoning city-states like Uruk. Imagine the meticulous hands of scribes, carefully inscribing lists of barley, numbers of livestock, or legal contracts onto durable clay. But as the system matured, its potential expanded. It became a means to record laws, compose epic poems, chronicle historical events, and even convey personal letters. This allowed knowledge to be preserved across generations, transcending the limits of oral tradition. It provided a permanent memory for societies, enabling unprecedented levels of organization and the spread of ideas. The simple act of marking clay quietly laid the foundation for all recorded history and communication as we know it. The construction of the Great Pyramids of Giza. In the vast desert landscape of ancient Egypt, between approximately 2580 and 2560 BCE, a monumental undertaking began: the construction of the Great Pyramids of Giza. These colossal structures, built as tombs for pharaohs like Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, stand as enduring testaments to the organizational power and engineering skill of an ancient civilization. Imagine countless workers, not slaves in the traditional sense, but skilled craftsmen, laborers, and farmers, participating in this immense project during the annual Nile flood when agricultural work ceased. They quarried massive blocks of limestone from distant sites, transported them by boat, and then meticulously moved and placed each stone, some weighing many tons, into precise positions. The sheer scale of the operation is awe-inspiring. It involved not only the physical labor, but also sophisticated planning, mathematics, and an understanding of astronomy. The pyramids were aligned with cardinal points and specific celestial bodies, reflecting the Egyptians' deep spiritual beliefs and their connection to the cosmos. As the sun traversed the sky, the shadows cast by these geometric wonders would lengthen and shorten, creating a silent, timeless spectacle. Even today, standing before them, one feels a sense of quiet wonder, contemplating the dedication and ingenuity that allowed a society, thousands of years ago, to create something so enduring, so perfectly proportioned, and so profoundly still. The Code of Hammurabi, law in ancient Babylon. In the ancient city-state of Babylon, around 1754 BCE, King Hammurabi commissioned a remarkable legal text, the Code of Hammurabi. This collection of laws, inscribed on a large stone stele, is one of the earliest and most complete written legal codes known to history. Imagine the quiet, methodical work of scribes and legal scholars, carefully articulating principles of justice and order for a sprawling empire. The code covered a wide range of issues, from family law and property rights to trade regulations and punishments for various offenses. What made Hammurabi's code particularly significant was its emphasis on an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Though this principle was applied differently depending on the social status of those involved. It wasn't merely a list of rules, but an attempt to establish a consistent and predictable system of justice across society. The stele itself, nearly 8 feet tall, depicts Hammurabi receiving the laws from the sun god Shamash, lending divine authority to the earthly decrees. This act of codifying laws provided a framework for societal conduct, reducing arbitrary judgments and offering a sense of stability. It was a foundational step in the development of legal systems, a quiet but powerful declaration of how people should interact and how disputes should be resolved, etched in stone for all to see and heed. The founding of Rome, a legendary beginning. The founding of Rome, traditionally dated to April 21, 753 BCE, is shrouded in myth and legend, yet it marks the symbolic birth of one of the most influential empires in history. Imagine a gentle landscape, 7 hills rising above the Tiber River in central Italy, an ideal location for a settlement. The most enduring legend tells of twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, abandoned as infants and suckled by a she-wolf, who later decided to build a city. A quarrel over the exact location led to Romulus slaying Remus, establishing himself as the first king and naming the city after himself. While the myths are rich with dramatic tales, the historical reality was likely a gradual process of small Latin settlements on the hills slowly merging and growing into a town. These early inhabitants would have engaged in simple farming, trade, and occasional conflicts with neighboring tribes. The strategic location provided natural defenses and access to trade routes, allowing the nascent community to thrive. As time passed, the modest collection of huts and fields would evolve into a powerful republic, and eventually, an empire stretching across much of the known world. The quiet, almost unassuming beginnings of Rome on those 7 hills hold the seeds of a civilization that would leave an indelible mark on law, language, architecture, and governance, a legacy still felt in the soft echoes of history. The birth of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. In the foothills of the Himalayas in what is now Nepal, around the 6th or 5th century BCE, a child named Siddhartha Gautama was born. This event, though seemingly quiet at the time, would profoundly shape the spiritual landscape of Asia and beyond. Raised in a sheltered princely existence, Siddhartha eventually encountered the realities of suffering, old age, sickness, and death. These observations deeply moved him, prompting a quest for understanding and liberation from this cycle of sorrow. Imagine him leaving his comfortable life, embarking on a meditative journey, sitting beneath a bodhi tree in deep contemplation. It was there, according to tradition, that he achieved enlightenment, realizing the nature of suffering and the path to its cessation. He became known as the Buddha, the Awakened One. He then spent the rest of his life gently teaching others the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, principles designed to guide individuals towards peace, wisdom, and compassion. His teachings emphasized inner experience, mindfulness, and the cessation of craving, offering a path that transcended social hierarchies. The quiet awakening of one individual under a tree blossomed into a philosophical and spiritual tradition that continues to offer solace and guidance to millions, a gentle echo of profound insight in a noisy world. The Battle of Marathon, defending ancient Greece. In 490 BCE, on the plains of Marathon in ancient Greece, a pivotal battle unfolded that would dramatically shape the course of Western civilization. This was the Battle of Marathon, where a smaller force of Athenian and Plataean hoplites bravely confronted the formidable Persian army that had invaded Greece. Imagine the tension in the air, the quiet discipline of the Greek soldiers, knowing the immense odds they faced against a vast imperial power. The Persians, confident in their numbers, sought to punish Athens for its involvement in revolts in Ionia. Yet, through strategic brilliance and a deep understanding of the terrain, the Greeks achieved an astonishing victory. They famously stretched their lines to prevent being outflanked, then engaged in a fierce, disciplined charge that overwhelmed the Persian center and flanks. The Persian forces, unaccustomed to such fierce resistance, were routed. The victory at Marathon sent a powerful message. The small, independent city-states of Greece could stand against the mighty Persian Empire. It instilled a profound sense of self-belief and unity among the Greeks, paving the way for the flourishing of Athenian democracy, philosophy, and art in the decades that followed. It was a decisive moment, a quiet turning point that ensured the continued development of a unique cultural heritage. The Golden Age of Athens, a flourishing of ideas. Following the Persian Wars, particularly after their victory at Marathon, Athens entered a remarkable period of cultural and intellectual flourishing, often referred to as its Golden Age. This era, roughly from 460 to 429 BCE, saw an unprecedented explosion of creativity and philosophical inquiry. Imagine the bustling streets of Athens, filled with citizens engaged in vibrant discussions, artists crafting exquisite sculptures, and playwrights presenting groundbreaking dramas in open-air theaters. It was a time when democracy, though limited to male citizens, reached its zenith, empowering citizens to participate directly in governance. Leaders like Pericles championed public works, including the iconic Parthenon, a magnificent temple dedicated to the goddess Athena, rising majestically on the Acropolis. Philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle began to systematically question the world, laying the foundations for Western thought and logic. Tragedians like Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides explored universal human themes, while the historian Herodotus meticulously documented the past. This was a period when the human mind seemed to awaken to its fullest potential, exploring concepts of justice, beauty, and truth with profound depth. The quiet hum of intellectual discourse and artistic creation in Athens laid the groundwork for many of the ideas and values that still resonate in our world today. The unification of China, the Qin dynasty. After centuries of fragmentation during the Warring States period, China experienced a monumental unification under the Qin dynasty in 221 BCE. This was achieved by Qin Shi Huang, who became China's first emperor. Imagine a vast and diverse land, once torn by conflict between rival states, now brought under a single, centralized rule. The Qin emperor implemented sweeping reforms, standardizing weights and measures, currency, and even the width of cart axles to ensure smooth movement across his vast dominion. He also created a unified written script, fostering communication and cultural cohesion across different regions. Perhaps his most ambitious and enduring project was the connection and extension of existing defensive walls into what would become the initial foundations of the Great Wall of China, a colossal undertaking to protect the empire from northern nomadic tribes. Though often associated with harsh rule and strict legalism, the Qin dynasty's short but impactful reign established a powerful administrative framework that would influence subsequent Chinese dynasties for millennia. It was a time of immense consolidation, a quiet yet firm imposition of order on a previously chaotic landscape. The legacy of a unified China, a single vast empire, can be traced back to this transformative period, a testament to the power of a unified vision. The Punic Wars, Rome versus Carthage. Between 264 and 146 BCE, a series of three epic conflicts known as the Punic Wars unfolded between the rising Roman Republic and the powerful maritime empire of Carthage. Imagine two formidable giants, one a land power, the other a naval force, locked in a struggle for dominance over the Mediterranean world. The First War was primarily a naval struggle for control of Sicily, a strategically vital island. The second, and perhaps most famous, saw the Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca lead his army, including elephants, across the Alps to invade Italy, posing an existential threat to Rome for over a decade. Despite devastating losses, Rome's resilience and strategic brilliance ultimately prevailed. They adapted their tactics, built powerful navies, and found ways to counter Carthaginian strength. The Third Punic War, a shorter and more brutal conflict, culminated in the complete destruction of Carthage. These wars were not just military contests. They were a clash of cultures and economic systems, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the ancient world. Rome's eventual victory solidified its position as the undisputed power in the Mediterranean, paving the way for its expansion into a vast empire. The quiet cessation of these conflicts marked the end of one era and the confident ascent of another: the assassination of Julius Caesar. On the Ides of March 15, 44 BCE, Julius Caesar, one of Rome's most charismatic and powerful figures, met a violent end. He was assassinated by a group of senators who feared his growing ambition and perceived threat to the Roman Republic. Imagine the tension in the air of the Senate House, the conspirators surrounding Caesar, their daggers concealed beneath their togas. Despite his immense popularity among the common people and his military triumphs, many in the Roman elite saw him as a tyrant undermining the traditional republican values. His death was a dramatic and shocking event, plunging Rome into a period of civil war. The conspirators, believing they were restoring liberty to the Republic, inadvertently paved the way for the rise of another powerful figure, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian. This assassination, a moment of profound political upheaval, signaled the beginning of the end for the Roman Republic and the slow, inevitable transition towards the Roman Empire. It was a moment of quiet betrayal and sudden violence that reverberated through the very foundations of Roman society, setting in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of Western history. The birth of Jesus Christ, a pivotal cultural moment. Around the traditional year 1 CE, in the Roman province of Judea, a child named Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem. While the exact historical details are debated, this event marks a profound turning point in human history, laying the foundation for a religion that would eventually become the world's largest. Imagine the quiet night in a small, humble stable, a scene depicted in countless works of art and literature. His life and teachings, particularly his emphasis on love, compassion, forgiveness, and service to others, would eventually spread far beyond his humble origins. Though his public ministry lasted only a few years, his message resonated deeply with many, particularly the marginalized and the poor. His crucifixion, followed by the belief in his resurrection, cemented the faith that his followers would carry forward. What began as a small movement among a few disciples in the Middle East gradually expanded through the Roman Empire and beyond, evolving into Christianity. This quiet birth in an obscure corner of the world would ultimately inspire billions, shape moral philosophies, influence political structures, and drive artistic expression for millennia, a gentle yet powerful testament to the enduring impact of spiritual ideas. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius, preserving Pompeii. On a seemingly ordinary day in August of 79 CE, the majestic Mount Vesuvius, a volcano in southern Italy, erupted with terrifying force. This catastrophic event tragically buried the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum under layers of ash and volcanic debris. Imagine the sudden darkness descending, the falling ash, and the intense heat, freezing moments of daily life in time. For centuries, these cities lay hidden and forgotten beneath the earth, their existence a mere whisper in historical texts. The discovery of Pompeii in the 18th century was like opening a time capsule. Archaeologists uncovered remarkably preserved streets, houses, temples, and even the imprints of people and animals caught in their final moments. This tragedy, while devastating for its inhabitants, provided an unparalleled glimpse into the daily life of a Roman city. Its frescoes, its tools, its bakeries, its public baths, and its social structures. The eruption, a destructive force of nature, inadvertently became an extraordinary preserver of history, offering a quiet, poignant window into a world that suddenly ceased to be, allowing us to connect with the echoes of ancient lives. The Edict of Milan, legalizing Christianity. In 313 CE, a pivotal moment for religious freedom occurred with the issuance of the Edict of Milan by the Roman emperors Constantine I and Licinius. Imagine a world where followers of certain religions faced persecution, sometimes severe, simply for their beliefs. Before this edict, Christians within the Roman Empire had often been targets of state-sponsored harassment and violence. The Edict of Milan changed this dramatically, granting religious tolerance throughout the Roman Empire, specifically mentioning Christians. This was not an edict that made Christianity the official religion of the empire, that would come later, but rather one that established a policy of religious neutrality. It allowed individuals to practice their chosen faith freely and publicly, without fear of reprisal. For Christians, this meant the cessation of persecutions, the return of confiscated property, and the freedom to build churches and worship openly. It represented a fundamental shift in imperial policy, acknowledging the rights of conscience. This quiet legal declaration had profound and lasting consequences, allowing Christianity to flourish and eventually become a dominant cultural force, shaping the spiritual landscape of Europe for centuries to come. The fall of the Western Roman Empire, a gradual dissolution. The traditional date for the fall of the Western Roman Empire is 476 CE, when the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. However, this was not a sudden collapse but the culmination of a long, slow decline. Imagine a vast and powerful empire, once stretching across much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, slowly unraveling from within and under pressure from external forces. Economic instability, political corruption, military overextension, and a series of barbarian invasions gradually weakened the once invincible empire. Cities declined, trade routes were disrupted, and the central authority in Rome diminished, eventually becoming little more than a symbolic presence. While the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to flourish for another 1,000 years, the western half fractured into numerous smaller, often warring kingdoms. The fall was less a dramatic collapse and more a gradual, quiet transition, a slow metamorphosis where Roman institutions faded and new Germanic kingdoms slowly took root. This long decline marked the end of classical antiquity in Western Europe and ushered in the beginnings of the Middle Ages, a quiet, profound shift in the course of European history. The construction of the Hagia Sophia, a dome of wonder. In the heart of Constantinople, during the 6th century CE, the magnificent Hagia Sophia was constructed under the orders of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I, consecrated in 537 CE. It stood as the largest cathedral in the world for over 1,000 years. Imagine the vibrant city, the hum of activity, as architects and engineers worked tirelessly to create this architectural marvel. Its most striking feature is its colossal dome, seemingly suspended without visible support, a testament to the advanced engineering skills of its builders, Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus. The interior, adorned with shimmering mosaics, marble columns, and vast open spaces, was designed to inspire awe and devotion. Sunlight streaming through its numerous windows created an ethereal glow, illuminating the sacred space. Over its long history, Hagia Sophia has served as a cathedral, a mosque, a museum, and now once again a mosque, reflecting the shifting tides of history and power. Its quiet grandeur has witnessed centuries of prayers, ceremonies, and historical events. Standing today, it remains a serene monument to human ingenuity, artistic aspiration, and spiritual reverence, a silent testament to the enduring power of architecture to inspire quiet contemplation. The birth of Islam, the revelations to Prophet Muhammad. In the early 7th century CE, in the Arabian city of Mecca, a series of profound spiritual revelations began to come to a man named Muhammad. These revelations, which he believed were from God, formed the basis of the religion of Islam. Imagine a society rooted in tribal customs and polytheistic beliefs, now presented with a message of monotheism and social justice. Muhammad began to preach these messages, which were later compiled into the holy book of the Quran. Initially, his message was met with resistance, leading him and his followers to migrate from Mecca to Medina in 622 CE, an event known as the Hijra, marking the beginning of the Islamic calendar. From Medina, the nascent Muslim community grew, gradually establishing itself through both peaceful conversion and military campaigns. The core tenets of Islam, submission to one God, prayer, charity, fasting, and pilgrimage, offered a new way of life and a strong sense of community. Within a few centuries, Islam would spread rapidly across the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe and Asia, creating a vast and influential civilization. This quiet beginning in the Arabian desert ignited a spiritual and cultural transformation that continues to shape a significant portion of the world. The founding of Baghdad, a city of wisdom. In 762 CE, the Abbasid Caliph al-Mansur founded the city of Baghdad, which would become the magnificent capital of the Abbasid Caliphate and a global center of learning during the Islamic Golden Age. Imagine a carefully chosen site along the Tigris River, where a new city was planned with meticulous precision. Baghdad was designed as a circular city, with the Caliph's palace and the Grand Mosque at its very center, reflecting the ideal of a perfectly ordered society. During its zenith, Baghdad was a bustling metropolis, attracting scholars, scientists, artists, and merchants from across the known world. It became home to the House of Wisdom, a grand library and translation institute where ancient Greek, Persian, and Indian texts were translated into Arabic. This facilitated the preservation and advancement of knowledge in various fields, including mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. Imagine the quiet dedication of scholars poring over ancient manuscripts, the lively discussions in its intellectual circles. Baghdad became a beacon of enlightenment, a place where ideas flowed freely and knowledge flourished, a serene testament to the pursuit of understanding in a time often perceived as dark. The Viking Age begins. Northern mariners explore and expand. Around the late 8th century CE, a new force emerged from Scandinavia, marking the beginning of what is known as the Viking Age. These were not just fearsome warriors, but also skilled navigators, traders, and explorers. Imagine longships, elegantly designed and incredibly seaworthy, silently gliding across the northern seas, their dragon prows cutting through the waves. The first recorded raid, often cited as the beginning of this era, occurred at the monastery of Lindisfarne in England in 793 CE. However, the Vikings' impact was far more complex than simple raiding. They established extensive trade networks, reaching as far as Russia and the Byzantine Empire. They settled new lands, including Iceland, Greenland, and parts of North America, centuries before Columbus. They were innovative shipbuilders and fierce, yet pragmatic negotiators. Their influence spread through conquest, settlement, and cultural exchange across much of northern Europe, leaving a lasting mark on languages, place names, and political structures. The quiet rustle of their sails and the murmur of their sagas still echo in the history of the North, a testament to their adventurous spirit and adaptability. The crowning of Charlemagne, forging a new empire. On Christmas Day in 800 CE, in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, Pope Leo III placed a crown upon the head of Charlemagne, king of the Franks, proclaiming him Emperor of the Romans. This event, while symbolically looking back to the grandeur of the Roman Empire, actually marked the birth of a new European political entity. Imagine the solemn ceremony, the hushed reverence in the ancient basilica, as a powerful Germanic ruler was recognized as the successor to the Roman emperors. Charlemagne had already forged a vast empire through military conquest and political skill, extending his rule across much of Western and Central Europe. His reign was characterized by efforts to revive learning, law, and culture, a period sometimes referred to as the Carolingian Renaissance. He promoted education, standardized liturgical practices, and encouraged the copying of ancient manuscripts, quietly laying the groundwork for medieval European intellectual life. His empire, though it would later fragment, provided a sense of unity and stability in a fragmented post-Roman world. The coronation of Charlemagne was a powerful symbolic act, merging Roman legacy, Christian faith, and Germanic power into a new synthesis, a quiet foundational moment for the development of medieval Europe. The Norman conquest of England, a shift in power. In 1066 CE, a pivotal event reshaped the course of English history, the Norman conquest. William, Duke of Normandy, led his invading army across the English Channel and decisively defeated the English forces at the Battle of Hastings. Imagine the tense anticipation on the battlefields of Sussex, the clash of shields, and the eventual triumph of the Norman cavalry and archers over the English shield wall. This victory dramatically altered the political, linguistic, and cultural landscape of England. William the Conqueror established a new Norman aristocracy, introducing a highly centralized feudal system and integrating England more closely with continental Europe. French, the language of the conquerors, became the language of government, law, and the elite, profoundly influencing the development of the English language. New architectural styles, particularly impressive castles and cathedrals, began to appear across the land. The quiet imposition of a new ruling class gradually transformed societal structures, creating a powerful Anglo-Norman kingdom. This single year, 1066, marked a clear break from the Anglo-Saxon past, setting England on a new trajectory that would reverberate through its history for centuries to come. The First Crusade, a call to the Holy Land. In 1095 CE, Pope Urban II delivered a powerful sermon at the Council of Clermont, calling upon European Christians to embark on a holy pilgrimage to reclaim Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim control. This marked the beginning of the First Crusade. Imagine the fervent response from across Europe, as knights, nobles, and commoners, driven by religious zeal and promises of spiritual rewards, took up the cross. It was a complex blend of piety, political ambition, and a desire for adventure that set thousands of people on a long and arduous journey eastward. The journey itself was fraught with challenges: harsh terrain, disease, and conflicts with local populations. Despite immense hardship and significant loss of life, the Crusaders eventually reached Jerusalem in 1099 CE and, after a brutal siege, captured the city. This event established the Crusader states in the Levant, fundamentally altering the political landscape of the Middle East and initiating centuries of complex interactions between Christian and Muslim worlds. While often remembered for its violence, the First Crusade also fostered new trade routes and cultural exchanges between East and West, a quiet, yet profound reshaping of medieval global connections. The signing of the Magna Carta, limiting royal power. In the quiet meadows of Runnymede, England, on June 15, 1215 CE, a landmark document known as the Magna Carta, or Great Charter, was reluctantly signed by King John. Imagine the tense negotiations between a beleaguered king and a group of powerful, rebellious barons who demanded limits on royal power. This charter was a response to King John's oppressive rule, his heavy taxes, and his perceived abuses of authority. It contained a series of clauses that sought to protect the rights and privileges of the barons, ensuring that the king himself was subject to the law. While initially intended to address specific grievances of the nobility, certain clauses within the Magna Carta had far-reaching implications. It established the principle that even a monarch was not above the law, and that certain fundamental rights, such as the right to a fair trial and protection from arbitrary imprisonment, should be guaranteed. Over centuries, these principles would evolve and be reinterpreted, influencing the development of constitutional law and democratic ideals far beyond England. The quiet act of signing this document on a summer day laid a crucial foundation for future legal systems, a subtle yet powerful declaration of accountability even for the most powerful rulers. The Mongol Invasions, reshaping Asia and Europe. Beginning in the early 13th century CE, under the leadership of Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire embarked on a series of swift and devastating invasions that would reshape the maps of Asia and parts of Europe. Imagine vast hordes of skilled horse archers, moving with incredible speed and coordination across the Eurasian steppes, conquering vast territories from China to Eastern Europe. Their military tactics, emphasizing mobility, discipline, and psychological warfare, were remarkably effective against established empires. While often remembered for their brutality, the Mongol conquests also had unforeseen consequences, facilitating unprecedented levels of trade and cultural exchange across the Silk Road. The Pax Mongolica, a period of relative peace and stability under Mongol rule, allowed goods, technologies, and ideas to travel freely across Eurasia. Marco Polo's famous journey to China was made possible by the Mongol Empire's vast reach. This period of intense conquest and expansion, though marked by destruction, quietly forged new connections between diverse cultures, profoundly influencing the demographic, political, and economic landscapes of continents for centuries to come, a testament to the powerful currents of history. Marco Polo's journey to China, connecting worlds. Between approximately 1271 and 1295 CE, a Venetian merchant named Marco Polo embarked on an extraordinary journey that would take him across vast distances to the distant lands of China. Imagine the immense scale of such an undertaking in the 13th century, traversing deserts, mountains, and unfamiliar territories, driven by a spirit of adventure and trade. Marco Polo, along with his father and uncle, spent many years in the court of Kublai Khan, the Mongol Emperor of China, serving in various capacities and observing the advanced civilization of the Yuan dynasty. Upon his return to Venice, his detailed accounts of his travels were compiled into a book known as The Travels of Marco Polo. This book, though initially met with skepticism, introduced Europeans to the wonders of the East, its magnificent cities, its advanced technologies like paper money and coal, and its rich cultures. It sparked immense curiosity and inspired future generations of explorers, influencing cartographers and navigators. The quiet tales of his long journey quietly widened the European worldview, subtly encouraging a greater understanding of the vastness and diversity of the world, a gentle bridge between East and West. The Black Death, a global catastrophe. In the mid-14th century, from approximately 1347 to 1351 CE, a devastating pandemic known as the Black Death swept across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Imagine the rapid and relentless spread of this terrifying disease, carried by fleas on rats, causing widespread suffering and death on an unimaginable scale. It is estimated to have killed between 75 million and 200 million people, wiping out a significant portion of the global population, particularly in Europe, where it claimed perhaps a third to half of its inhabitants. The impact of the Black Death was profound and far-reaching, dramatically altering the social, economic, and cultural fabric of affected regions. Labor shortages led to higher wages for survivors and a weakening of the feudal system. It spurred new ways of thinking about medicine, public health, and even religion, as people grappled with the enormity of the catastrophe. Artistic and literary expressions often reflected the somber mood of the era. This quiet, invisible enemy brought immense sorrow, but also inadvertently catalyzed significant societal changes, leaving a lasting imprint on demographics, economic structures, and cultural attitudes, a somber yet transformative period in human history. The invention of the printing press, spreading knowledge. Around 1440 CE, in Mainz, Germany, Johannes Gutenberg revolutionized the dissemination of information with his invention of the movable type printing press. Imagine a world where books were painstakingly copied by hand, a slow and expensive process that made knowledge largely inaccessible to the common person. Gutenberg's innovation involved creating individual metal letters that could be arranged to form words, then inked and pressed onto paper. This allowed for the rapid and relatively inexpensive production of multiple copies of texts. The first major work produced was the Gutenberg Bible, a masterpiece of early printing. This invention had a quietly revolutionary impact. It led to a dramatic increase in literacy, as books became more affordable and available to a wider audience. It facilitated the rapid spread of new ideas, including those of the Protestant Reformation, scientific discoveries, and philosophical treatises. It democratized knowledge, empowering individuals to read and interpret texts for themselves. The quiet click and whir of the printing press set in motion an unstoppable wave of information, fundamentally transforming education, religion, and the very structure of society, a gentle revolution of words. The fall of Constantinople, end of an empire. On May 29, 1453 CE, after a prolonged siege, the formidable city of Constantinople, capital of the Byzantine Empire, fell to the Ottoman Turks under Sultan Mehmed II. Imagine the ancient walls, which had withstood countless sieges for over 1,000 years, finally breached. This event marked the definitive end of the Eastern Roman Empire, a direct continuation of the Roman Empire, which had endured for an astonishing 1,123 years after the fall of the West. The city, a beacon of learning, trade, and Orthodox Christianity, was renamed Istanbul and became the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. The fall of Constantinople had profound consequences for both East and West. Many Byzantine scholars fled to Western Europe, bringing with them ancient Greek texts and knowledge that contributed significantly to the flourishing of the Renaissance. It also closed traditional land trade routes to the east, spurring European powers to seek new maritime routes around Africa, inadvertently contributing to the age of exploration. The quiet extinguishing of an ancient empire ushered in a new era of Ottoman dominance in the eastern Mediterranean, subtly shifting the balance of power and inspiring a new age of global discovery. Christopher Columbus's voyage to the Americas, a new world encounter. On October 12, 1492 CE, Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer sailing under the patronage of the Spanish monarchs, made landfall in the Americas, forever altering the course of global history. Imagine the long, uncertain voyage across the vast Atlantic Ocean, the quiet anticipation as the tiny fleet of 3 ships, the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, ventured into the unknown. Though he believed he had reached the East Indies, his arrival marked the beginning of sustained European contact with the Americas. This event initiated a period of immense global exchange, known as the Columbian Exchange, involving the transfer of plants, animals, diseases, and cultures between the Old World and the New World. While it opened up new opportunities for exploration and trade for Europeans, it also brought devastating consequences for the indigenous populations of the Americas, including disease, forced labor, and displacement. The quiet touch of European sails upon American shores unleashed a cascade of events that would profoundly reshape demographics, economies, and cultures across continents. A gentle, yet epic-making collision of worlds. The Protestant Reformation begins, a spiritual reshaping. On October 31, 1517 CE, a German monk named Martin Luther reportedly nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the castle church in Wittenberg. This act, whether literal or symbolic, is widely regarded as the spark that ignited the Protestant Reformation, a monumental religious and social upheaval in Europe. Imagine a world where the Catholic Church held immense spiritual and temporal power, and questioning its doctrines was a dangerous endeavor. Luther's theses challenged the practice of selling indulgences and raised fundamental questions about salvation, biblical authority, and the role of the clergy. His ideas, quickly spread by the newly invented printing press, resonated with many who sought reform within the Church and among those who chafed under its authority. The Reformation led to the establishment of various Protestant denominations, splitting Western Christianity and sparking decades of religious wars and political restructuring across Europe. Beyond theology, it fostered new ideas about individual conscience, literacy, to read the Bible, and national identity. The quiet act of a monk posting his theological arguments slowly but powerfully transformed the spiritual landscape of Europe, leading to centuries of profound social and political change. Ferdinand Magellan's circumnavigation, proving a global concept. Between 1519 and 1522 CE, an expedition led by the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan accomplished the first circumnavigation of the Earth. Imagine the immense courage and perseverance required for such a voyage in the early 16th century, pushing into uncharted waters with limited knowledge of global geography. Magellan himself died during a conflict in the Philippines, but one of his ships, the Victoria, commanded by Juan Sebastián Elcano, completed the journey back to Spain, demonstrating definitively that the Earth was indeed spherical and that all oceans were connected. This voyage was a triumph of navigation and exploration, providing invaluable knowledge about the size of the Earth, the vastness of the Pacific Ocean, and the existence of new lands and peoples. It profoundly influenced cartography and future exploration, opening up new trade routes and expanding Europe's global reach. The quiet persistence of a small crew sailing into the unknown for years silently confirmed a fundamental truth about our planet, expanding human understanding of their place in a truly global world. The fall of the Aztec Empire, a clash of worlds. In 1521 CE, the powerful Aztec Empire, centered in the magnificent city of Tenochtitlan, modern-day Mexico City, fell to a small force of Spanish conquistadors led by Hernán Cortés, aided by indigenous allies. Imagine a vast and sophisticated civilization, with intricate social structures, advanced agricultural practices, and impressive architectural achievements, suddenly confronted by an unfamiliar culture with superior weaponry and devastating diseases. The arrival of the Spanish brought not only iron and gunpowder, but also unseen contagions like smallpox, which ravaged the native population, weakening their resistance. The siege of Tenochtitlan was a brutal and prolonged conflict, ultimately leading to the destruction of the city and the collapse of the Aztec state. This event marked a tragic turning point for the indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica, initiating centuries of colonial rule and cultural transformation. However, it also represented a crucial moment in the global expansion of European powers, connecting the Americas more directly with Europe. The quiet disappearance of a once flourishing empire under the weight of foreign invasion subtly yet profoundly altered the demographic and cultural landscape of a continent, a somber echo in the grand narrative of exploration. The fall of the Inca Empire, conquest in the Andes. Just over a decade after the fall of the Aztecs, in 1532 CE, the vast and technologically advanced Inca Empire in the Andes Mountains of South America met a similar fate, falling to Spanish conquistadors led by Francisco Pizarro. Imagine an empire stretching thousands of miles along the spine of the Andes, connected by an intricate network of roads, without the use of the wheel or written language, yet maintaining remarkable organization and prosperity. Like the Aztecs, the Inca were weakened by internal strife and the devastating impact of European diseases, particularly smallpox, which arrived even before the Spanish main force. The Spanish capture of the Inca Emperor Atahualpa through deception, despite being vastly outnumbered, crippled the empire's command structure. The subsequent conquest was swift and brutal, leading to the dismantling of the Incas' unique social and economic systems. This event, much like the fall of the Aztecs, represented the violent collision of two distinct worlds, forever changing the destiny of the Andean region. The quiet echoes of a once mighty empire, rich in gold and unique cultural practices, faded into the colonial era, leaving behind a complex legacy of cultural blending and historical memory that still whispers from the ancient mountains. The Elizabethan Age, a flourishing of arts and exploration. The reign of Queen Elizabeth I, from 1558 to 1603 CE, is often hailed as England's Golden Age, a period of remarkable flourishing in arts, literature, and exploration. Imagine a kingdom emerging from religious turmoil and internal strife, finding new confidence and identity under the leadership of a shrewd and charismatic queen. This era saw the rise of literary giants like William Shakespeare, whose plays continue to resonate with universal truths, and Christopher Marlowe. Sir Francis Drake circumnavigated the globe, and Sir Walter Raleigh attempted to establish colonies in North America. Despite facing threats from powerful European rivals like Spain, Elizabeth's strategic diplomacy, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 solidified England's position as a rising naval power. This period fostered a strong sense of national pride and an outward-looking perspective. The quiet creativity of playwrights penning timeless verses, the daring spirit of mariners charting new waters, and the steady hand of a monarch guiding her nation through turbulent times collectively contributed to a cultural efflorescence that continues to inspire. It was a golden era where the subtle threads of ambition, artistry, and adventure wove together to create a lasting legacy. The publication of Nicolaus Copernicus's De Revolutionibus, A New Cosmic View, in 1543 CE, a groundbreaking work titled De Revolutionibus Orbium Celestium, on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres, by the Polish astronomer Nicolaus Copernicus was published. Imagine a world where the prevailing view, for over 1,000 years, was that the Earth was the stationary center of the universe, with all celestial bodies revolving around it. Copernicus's treatise quietly challenged this geocentric model by proposing a heliocentric system, where the Earth and other planets orbited the Sun. Though his model still contained complexities and was not immediately accepted, it sparked a fundamental shift in scientific thought, laying the groundwork for what would become known as the Scientific Revolution. It prompted later astronomers like Galileo Galilei and Johannes Kepler to build upon his ideas, refining the understanding of planetary motion. This quiet act of scholarly publication, questioning long-held beliefs, slowly but surely began to reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. It demonstrated the power of observation and mathematical reasoning to unveil deeper truths about the universe, a gentle nudge that set the stage for profound scientific discoveries. The Tokugawa Shogunate establishes Japan's Edo period, a time of peace. In 1603 CE, after decades of civil war and social upheaval, Tokugawa Ieyasu established the Tokugawa Shogunate, ushering in the Edo period in Japan, a time of remarkable peace, stability, and cultural flourishing that lasted for over 250 years. Imagine a country tired of conflict, now embracing a strict but effective feudal system that enforced order across the archipelago. The capital was moved to Edo, modern-day Tokyo, which grew into one of the world's largest cities. One of the defining features of this period was sakoku, a policy of national isolation that severely limited foreign contact, allowing Japan to develop its unique culture without significant external influence. While isolating, this period also fostered internal development, leading to advancements in agriculture, crafts, and the emergence of a vibrant urban culture. Art forms like ukiyo-e woodblock prints, kabuki theater, and haiku poetry flourished. The quiet enforcement of peace and order, though sometimes restrictive, allowed Japanese society to cultivate its distinctive identity, creating a period of profound stability and artistic expression that continues to resonate in its cultural heritage. The founding of Jamestown, England's first permanent colony in North America. In May 1607 CE, a group of English settlers established Jamestown in present-day Virginia, marking the founding of England's first permanent colony in North America. Imagine the precarious beginnings of this small settlement, built along a river, facing harsh conditions, disease, and conflicts with indigenous populations. The early years were marked by immense hardship and a high mortality rate, with the colonists struggling to adapt to a new environment and find a sustainable means of survival. The discovery and cultivation of tobacco as a cash crop by John Rolfe eventually provided the economic foundation for the colony's survival and growth. This initial foothold in the New World laid the groundwork for future English colonization and the eventual formation of the United States. It represented a quiet but persistent effort to extend European influence across the Atlantic, initiating a long and complex relationship between European settlers and the native inhabitants of the continent. The simple act of clearing land and building huts began a profound transformation of the North American landscape and its demographic composition. The 30 Years' War, reshaping Europe's map. Between 1618 and 1648 CE, a devastating conflict known as the 30 Years' War ravaged much of Central Europe. Initially a religious war between Catholic and Protestant states within the Holy Roman Empire, it evolved into a broader political struggle involving most major European powers. Imagine the widespread destruction, the millions of lives lost to battle, famine, and disease as armies crisscrossed the continent. It was a prolonged and brutal conflict that profoundly reshaped the political and religious landscape of Europe. The war concluded with the Peace of Westphalia in 1648, a series of treaties that are often considered a foundational moment in international relations. These treaties established the concept of state sovereignty, recognizing the right of individual states to determine their own internal affairs, including religion, without external interference. They also significantly weakened the Holy Roman Empire and paved the way for the rise of powerful, independent nation-states. The quiet negotiations that ended decades of bloodshed fundamentally redefined the political order of Europe, leading to a new era of diplomatic relations and the subtle, yet profound, emergence of modern nationhood. The Salem Witch Trials, a dark chapter in colonial America. In 1692 and 1693 CE, in the Puritan village of Salem, Massachusetts, a series of disturbing events known as the Salem Witch Trials unfolded. Imagine a community gripped by fear, paranoia, and religious fervor, where accusations of witchcraft led to trials, convictions, and the execution of innocent individuals. The trials began when several young girls claimed to be afflicted by witchcraft, leading to the arrest of various townspeople. The accusations quickly spiraled out of control, fueled by superstition, social tensions, and the rigid religious beliefs of the time. More than 200 people were accused, and 20 were executed, 14 of them women. The trials highlight a dark moment in colonial American history, demonstrating the dangers of mass hysteria, unsubstantiated accusations, and a lack of due process. Eventually, skepticism and reason prevailed, leading to the end of the trials and later apologies and reparations to the victims' families. The quiet horror of innocent lives lost to irrational fear serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of justice and the enduring importance of critical thinking and tolerance in any society. The Glorious Revolution, shifting power in England. In 1688 CE, England experienced a significant, relatively bloodless political upheaval known as the Glorious Revolution. This event saw the overthrow of King James II and the ascension of William of Orange and Mary II to the English throne. Imagine a nation grappling with questions of religious freedom and monarchical power, leading to a quiet, yet decisive, shift in its constitutional framework. James II's Catholic leanings and his attempts to assert absolute power alarmed many Protestants and members of Parliament. A coalition of parliamentarians invited William of Orange, Mary's husband and James's nephew, to invade England. James's forces largely deserted him, and he fled to France, effectively abdicating the throne. William and Mary then accepted the English throne, but only after agreeing to the Declaration of Right, which was later codified as the Bill of Rights in 1689. This document severely limited the power of the monarchy and established parliamentary supremacy, guaranteeing certain individual rights and freedoms. The quiet transfer of power and the subsequent legal reforms laid crucial foundations for modern parliamentary democracy, subtly yet profoundly altering the balance between monarch and people. The beginning of the Enlightenment, an age of reason. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, a powerful intellectual and cultural movement began to take root in Europe, known as the Enlightenment. Imagine a new emphasis on reason, individualism, and skepticism, challenging traditional authority and superstition. Thinkers like John Locke, Isaac Newton, Voltaire, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau began to propose radical new ideas about government, human rights, and the nature of knowledge. They argued for the importance of scientific inquiry, critical thinking, and the pursuit of happiness. Salons and coffee houses became centers for vibrant discussion, where ideas were debated and disseminated through pamphlets and books, slowly but surely influencing educated elites across the continent. Concepts such as the separation of powers, natural rights, and the social contract gained prominence, laying the intellectual groundwork for future revolutions in America and France. The quiet spark of intellectual curiosity and the calm embrace of rational thought gradually illuminated a new path for human progress, transforming the way people understood themselves, their societies, and their place in the universe. The American Revolution, a new nation forms. In the late 18th century, a profound political and military struggle unfolded in North America, leading to the birth of a new nation, the United States of America. This was the American Revolution, sparked by growing tensions between the 13 British colonies and the British Crown over issues of taxation and representation. Imagine the quiet, yet firm, resolve of colonists seeking greater autonomy, expressing their grievances through protests and pamphlets, until simmering discontent erupted into armed conflict. The signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776 eloquently articulated the ideals of liberty and self-governance. The war itself, from 1775 to 1783, involved battles fought across the colonies, with the Continental Army, led by George Washington, facing the formidable British military. Despite significant challenges, the colonists, aided by foreign allies like France, eventually secured their independence. This revolutionary act established a republic based on democratic principles, where power was derived from the consent of the governed, rather than from a monarch. The quiet act of defiance against a global empire fundamentally altered the political landscape of the Western Hemisphere, creating a blueprint for future democratic movements and forever changing the trajectory of American history. The French Revolution begins. Liberty, equality, fraternity. In 1789 CE, France plunged into a period of radical social and political upheaval known as the French Revolution. Imagine a society deeply divided by class, with a privileged aristocracy and clergy, and a vast majority of commoners burdened by economic hardship and heavy taxes. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, a symbolic act of defiance against royal authority, marked the beginning of this transformative era. The revolutionaries championed the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, seeking to dismantle the absolute monarchy and establish a more egalitarian society. The revolution brought about profound changes, abolishing feudalism, nationalizing church lands, and issuing the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, proclaiming fundamental human rights. While it led to periods of intense violence, including the Reign of Terror, it also fundamentally reshaped French society and politics, inspiring democratic movements worldwide. The quiet, yet fervent, desire for change among the French people ultimately led to the overthrow of an ancient regime, forever altering the course of European history and spreading new ideas about governance and individual rights. The Industrial Revolution begins, a new age of production. Beginning in Great Britain in the late 18th century, a profound transformation known as the Industrial Revolution quietly reshaped human society. Imagine a world gradually shifting from agrarian, hand-based production to one dominated by machine manufacturing in factories. Key innovations like James Watt's improved steam engine provided a new source of power, driving textile machinery, powering mines, and eventually revolutionizing transportation. This period saw the invention of new tools and techniques that dramatically increased productivity and changed the way people lived and worked. The growth of factories led to the rapid expansion of urban centers as people migrated from rural areas in search of employment. New social classes emerged, and new challenges arose concerning working conditions and pollution. However, it also brought about unprecedented economic growth, the availability of mass-produced goods, and significant advancements in technology. This quiet yet forceful wave of innovation fundamentally reshaped economies, societies, and daily life, laying the groundwork for the modern industrial world and continuing to influence technological progress even today. The Louisiana Purchase, expanding a young nation. In 1803 CE, the United States, under President Thomas Jefferson, made an extraordinary acquisition of land from France, known as the Louisiana Purchase. Imagine a young nation, stretching along the Atlantic coast, suddenly doubling its size with a single transaction. This vast territory, extending from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains, encompassed approximately 828,000 square miles. Napoleon Bonaparte, facing financial difficulties and needing to focus on European conflicts, unexpectedly offered to sell the entire territory to the United States. The purchase was a pivotal moment in American expansion, providing control over the crucial port of New Orleans and opening up vast new lands for exploration and settlement. It fueled the concept of manifest destiny, the idea that the United States was destined to expand across the North American continent. This quiet diplomatic agreement, negotiated swiftly, profoundly altered the geographical and political future of the United States, providing immense natural resources and space for growth, forever changing the nation's trajectory and its relationship with the vast lands to its west. The Congress of Vienna, reshaping post-Napoleonic Europe. From 1814 to 1815 CE, following the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte, the major European powers convened at the Congress of Vienna to establish a lasting peace and reshape the continent's political map. Imagine the quiet, yet intense, diplomatic efforts of statesmen from Austria, Great Britain, Prussia, and Russia, along with France, seeking to restore stability and prevent future conflicts. Their primary goals were to re-establish a balance of power, restore legitimate monarchies, and suppress revolutionary sentiments that had swept through Europe during the Napoleonic era. The Congress redrew national borders, created new kingdoms, and established mechanisms for international cooperation, such as the Concert of Europe. While often criticized for its conservative nature, it succeeded in maintaining a relatively long period of peace in Europe, preventing major continent-wide wars for nearly a century. The quiet, intricate negotiations in Vienna fundamentally reordered the political landscape, shaping the boundaries and alliances that would define Europe for generations, a subtle yet enduring legacy of diplomatic foresight. The invention of the telegraph, instant communication across distances. In the 1830s and 1840s, a revolutionary invention began to transform communication: the electric telegraph. Imagine a world where messages could only travel as fast as a horse or a ship, taking days or weeks to cover significant distances. Samuel Morse's development of the Morse code and the practical application of electrical signals through wires allowed messages to be transmitted almost instantaneously across vast stretches of land. The first successful long-distance telegraph line in the United States was established in 1844, connecting Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. The telegraph dramatically sped up the flow of information, impacting everything from business and finance to journalism and warfare. News could travel across continents in minutes, not months, changing the rhythm of daily life and fostering a new sense of global interconnectedness. The quiet click-clack of the telegraph key, sending silent signals along unseen wires, gradually shrank the world, bringing distant places closer and forever changing the speed at which humans could communicate. It laid the foundation for all modern telecommunications, a gentle whisper that grew into the roar of the information age. The California Gold Rush, a mass migration and transformation. In 1848 CE, the discovery of gold at Sutter's Mill in California sparked one of the largest mass migrations in human history, the California Gold Rush. Imagine the sudden, electrifying news spreading across the globe, drawing hundreds of thousands of fortune seekers, known as 49ers, to the remote western territories of the United States. People from all walks of life, and from diverse corners of the world, abandoned their homes and livelihoods, braving arduous journeys by land and sea, dreaming of instant wealth. The influx of prospectors transformed California almost overnight. Small settlements exploded into bustling, chaotic towns, and the demand for goods and services soared. While few individuals actually struck it rich by mining, the gold rush accelerated California's development, leading to its rapid statehood in 1850. It also profoundly impacted the indigenous populations, who were displaced and exploited. The quiet glimmer of gold flakes in a riverbed unleashed a powerful human tide, forever altering the demographics, economy, and landscape of the American West, a restless pursuit that quietly reshaped a continent. The publication of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species, A New View of Life. In 1859 CE, a groundbreaking scientific work titled On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection by Charles Darwin was published. Imagine a world where the diversity of life was largely explained by divine creation, with species seen as unchanging. Darwin's meticulously researched book presented a revolutionary theory that life on Earth has evolved over vast periods of time through a process he called natural selection. He proposed that organisms with traits best suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those advantageous traits to their offspring. This theory profoundly challenged existing scientific and religious paradigms, sparking intense debate, but also opening new avenues for understanding the natural world. It provided a powerful, unifying framework for biology, explaining the intricate relationships between species and their environments. The quiet observations of a naturalist on a journey around the world gradually culminated in an idea that fundamentally altered humanity's understanding of its own origins and its place within the intricate web of life on Earth. It was a gentle, yet monumental shift in scientific thought that continues to resonate today. The American Civil War, a nation divided and reunited. From 1861 to 1865 CE, the United States endured its most devastating conflict, the American Civil War. Imagine a nation torn apart by deep divisions, primarily over the institution of slavery and states' rights. The election of Abraham Lincoln, an anti-slavery candidate, prompted Southern states to secede from the Union, leading to the outbreak of hostilities. This was a brutal and costly war, fought between the Union Northern states and the Confederacy, Southern states, with immense casualties on both sides. Major battles like Gettysburg and Vicksburg marked turning points as the conflict raged across the American landscape. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 declared slaves in Confederate territory to be free, transforming the war into a fight for human liberty. Ultimately, the Union prevailed, leading to the abolition of slavery across the entire nation and the preservation of the United States as a single, unified country. The quiet, somber resolution of this immense conflict fundamentally redefined American identity, securing human rights for millions and laying the groundwork for a more inclusive, though still imperfect, future. The unification of Germany, a new European power. In 1871 CE, after a series of successful wars orchestrated by Otto von Bismarck, the disparate German states were finally unified into a single, powerful German empire. Imagine a patchwork of kingdoms, duchies, and free cities, each with its own traditions, now brought together under a common imperial banner. The process of unification was largely driven by Prussia, under its shrewd Minister-President Bismarck, who used a combination of diplomacy and decisive military victories, particularly against Denmark, Austria, and France. The proclamation of the German Empire in the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles after the Franco-Prussian War symbolized the culmination of this long process. This event fundamentally reshaped the balance of power in Europe, creating a strong, new industrial and military force at its center. It led to a period of rapid economic growth and scientific advancement within Germany, but also introduced new geopolitical tensions. The quiet, methodical work of statesmen and generals gradually forged a powerful new nation, forever altering the political and economic landscape of the continent and setting the stage for future global events. The invention of the light bulb, illumination for the world. In the late 19th century, particularly around 1879, Thomas Edison and his team made significant advancements in developing a practical, long-lasting incandescent light bulb. Imagine a world where darkness truly descended at sunset, with only flickering gaslights or candles to offer meager illumination. The invention of the electric light bulb quietly revolutionized daily life, extending the hours of productivity, learning, and social activity beyond the limits of daylight. While many inventors contributed to the concept, Edison's success lay in creating a commercially viable and durable design. His development of a complete electrical system, including generators, wiring, and light sockets, was equally crucial in bringing electric light to homes and businesses. This innovation dramatically transformed urban landscapes, making cities safer and more vibrant at night. It altered work patterns, allowing factories to operate around the clock, and fundamentally changed the rhythm of human existence. The quiet glow of a filament, encased in glass, subtly yet profoundly illuminated the world, marking a transition into an era of unprecedented artificial light and setting the stage for the widespread adoption of electricity. The invention of the telephone, connecting voices. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell successfully patented the telephone, an invention that would fundamentally transform communication across distances. Imagine a time when sending a message required writing a letter or sending a telegraph, with no possibility of real-time vocal exchange. Bell's device, which converted sound waves into electrical signals and back again, allowed two people to speak to each other directly, even when miles apart. It was a revolutionary concept that promised to shrink the perceived distance between individuals. Early telephones were simple, often requiring operators to connect calls, but the technology quickly advanced. The quiet hum of the phone line gradually became a ubiquitous sound in homes and businesses around the world. This invention profoundly impacted personal relationships, commerce, and emergency services, making instant verbal communication a reality. The gentle vibration of a diaphragm, translating spoken words into electrical impulses, quietly forged new connections between people, creating a sense of immediate presence across vast distances and forever changing the way humanity interacted. The invention of the automobile, reshaping travel and society. In the late 19th century, particularly in the 1880s, innovators like Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler developed the first practical internal combustion engine automobiles, setting in motion a profound transformation of transportation. Imagine a world reliant on horses or trains for travel, where personal mobility was limited and journeys were often slow and arduous. The horseless carriage, initially a novelty, quietly promised a new era of freedom and speed. Early automobiles were expensive and unreliable, but continuous innovation gradually made them more accessible. Henry Ford's introduction of the Model T and the assembly line in the early 20th century further democratized car ownership, making it available to the masses. This invention dramatically reshaped urban planning, as roads were paved and suburbs expanded. It altered social life, enabling new forms of leisure and travel, and fundamentally changed industries from manufacturing to petroleum. The quiet hum of an engine, once a distant sound, grew into the ubiquitous symphony of modern life, forever altering human mobility and the very fabric of society. The first modern Olympic Games, rekindling ancient ideals. In April 1896, in Athens, Greece, the first modern Olympic Games were held, rekindling an ancient tradition that celebrated athletic prowess and international camaraderie. Imagine a quiet stadium, not unlike the ancient venues, filled with spectators eagerly watching athletes compete from across the globe. Inspired by the ancient Greek Olympics, Pierre de Coubertin, a French educator, envisioned a modern revival of the Games as a way to promote understanding and peace among nations through sports. Over 200 athletes from 14 nations participated in various events, including track and field, gymnastics, swimming, and cycling. While modest by today's standards, these games marked a significant step in establishing a global sporting event based on the principles of fair play and friendly competition. The quiet gathering of athletes from diverse backgrounds, competing under a shared banner, subtly fostered a sense of international unity. It was a gentle reawakening of an ancient ideal, a peaceful gathering that continues to bring the world together in celebration of human potential every 4 years. The Wright brothers' first flight, conquering the skies. On December 17, 1903, near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, Orville and Wilbur Wright achieved a monumental feat, the first sustained, controlled flight of a powered, heavier-than-air aircraft. Imagine the quiet, unassuming brothers, bicycle mechanics by trade, meticulously experimenting with gliders and engines, driven by a relentless curiosity about flight. Their invention, the Wright Flyer, flew for just 12 seconds and covered only 120 feet on its inaugural flight, a tiny hop compared to today's journeys. Yet, this brief flight was a profound triumph, demonstrating that human flight was indeed possible. It opened up a new dimension for transportation, exploration, and warfare, fundamentally altering the way humans perceived distance and boundaries. The quiet whir of their propeller and the gentle lift off the ground marked the beginning of the aviation age, leading to rapid advancements in aircraft design and capabilities. It was a testament to persistent innovation, a silent lift that transformed the world's perspective on what was achievable, shrinking the globe and connecting distant lands. The discovery of penicillin, revolutionizing medicine. In 1928, a Scottish bacteriologist named Alexander Fleming made an accidental, yet monumental discovery: penicillin. Imagine a quiet laboratory, a petri dish left uncleaned while Fleming was on holiday. Upon his return, he noticed a mold growing on a Staphylococcus culture that was inhibiting the growth of the bacteria. This humble mold, Penicillium notatum, produced a substance with powerful antibacterial properties. This chance observation sparked the beginning of the antibiotic era. While Fleming identified the substance, it took the later work of Howard Florey and Ernst Chain in the late 1930s and early 1940s to successfully develop penicillin into a life-saving drug. Its widespread use during World War II dramatically reduced deaths from bacterial infections among soldiers. The quiet observation of a common mold ultimately led to a revolution in medicine, transforming the treatment of infectious diseases and saving countless lives. It was a gentle, yet profound breakthrough that fundamentally altered human health and longevity, reshaping the course of modern medicine. The Great Depression begins, a global economic crisis. In October 1929, the stock market crash on Wall Street signaled the beginning of the Great Depression, a severe worldwide economic downturn that lasted throughout the 1930s. Imagine the quiet, yet profound, shock and despair that rippled through homes and businesses as unemployment soared, banks failed, and industries ground to a halt. While the crash was a visible trigger, underlying causes included overproduction, unequal distribution of wealth, and weak banking regulations. The Depression led to widespread poverty, homelessness, and social unrest across many countries. Governments struggled to respond effectively, leading to new economic theories and political changes. It forced societies to reevaluate their economic systems and the role of government in social welfare. The quiet struggle for survival amidst widespread hardship shaped an entire generation, leaving a lasting mark on economic policy, social safety nets, and the collective memory of nations. It was a period of immense challenge that quietly reshaped economic thought and social responsibility for decades to come. The discovery of Pluto, expanding our solar system. In 1930, a young astronomer named Clyde Tombaugh, working at the Lowell Observatory in Arizona, made a significant discovery: a distant celestial body that was later named Pluto. Imagine the quiet, painstaking work of scanning photographic plates of the night sky, comparing images taken on different nights to detect any moving objects. For decades, astronomers had suspected the existence of a planet X beyond Neptune, influencing its orbit. Tombaugh's diligent search finally yielded results, revealing a faint, tiny point of light that was indeed moving. Pluto was immediately hailed as the 9th planet in our solar system, expanding humanity's known cosmic neighborhood. Although its status was reclassified to a dwarf planet, In 2006, its discovery marked a significant milestone in planetary astronomy. The quiet, dedicated gaze of an astronomer, patiently searching the vast darkness of space, gently pushed the boundaries of human understanding about our own solar system. The construction of the Golden Gate Bridge, an engineering marvel. Between 1933 and 1937, during the depths of the Great Depression, the magnificent Golden Gate Bridge was constructed, spanning the strait between San Francisco Bay and the Pacific Ocean. Imagine the immense ambition and engineering ingenuity required to build what was, at the time, the longest suspension bridge in the world, in a location notorious for its strong currents, deep water, and frequent fogs. It was a massive undertaking, employing thousands of workers and providing much-needed jobs during a difficult economic period. Despite formidable challenges, including strong winds and the risk of earthquakes, the bridge was completed ahead of schedule and under budget. Its iconic orange red towers and sweeping cables became an immediate symbol of human achievement and resilience. The quiet hum of construction, the steady hands of the workers, and the elegant curve of the bridge against the sky collectively created a lasting monument to human determination and artistic vision. It stands today as a serene testament to overcoming formidable natural obstacles through bold engineering and quiet perseverance. The D-Day landings, turning the tide of World War II. On June 6, 1944, during World War II, the Allied forces launched the largest amphibious invasion in history, known as D-Day. Imagine the vast armada of ships, carrying hundreds of thousands of soldiers, crossing the English Channel under the cover of darkness, heading towards the beaches of Normandy, France. This monumental operation, code-named Operation Overlord, aimed to liberate Western Europe from Nazi German occupation and open a crucial second front against Germany. Despite fierce German resistance and heavy casualties on the landing beaches, the Allied forces managed to establish a foothold. This critical success marked a turning point in the war, signaling the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. It paved the way for the liberation of France and the eventual Allied victory in Europe less than a year later. The quiet courage of countless individuals, moving silently in the pre-dawn hours, fundamentally altered the course of a global conflict, leading to the eventual restoration of peace and freedom across a continent. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a new era of warfare. In August 1945, towards the very end of World War II, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Imagine the sudden, unimaginable destruction unleashed by a single weapon, transforming vibrant cities into desolate landscapes in mere moments. These unprecedented acts marked the first and only use of nuclear weapons in warfare, bringing a swift, albeit devastating, end to the global conflict. The quiet, almost imperceptible release of immense energy from the atom changed the nature of conflict forever. The bombings, while ending the war and potentially saving countless lives that would have been lost in a prolonged invasion of Japan, also ushered in the atomic age, a period defined by the chilling possibility of global nuclear annihilation. They initiated an arms race between superpowers and profoundly influenced international diplomacy and military strategy for decades to come. The quiet, profound implications of this new destructive power continue to shape global politics and human consciousness, a somber reminder of humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction. The formation of the United Nations, seeking global peace. In October 1945, In the aftermath of the two most devastating world wars in history, the United Nations was formally established. Imagine leaders from diverse nations gathering with a shared aspiration to create an international organization dedicated to maintaining global peace and security, fostering cooperation, and preventing future conflicts. Building upon the legacy of the League of Nations, the UN aimed to be a stronger, more inclusive body. Its charter outlined principles for international law, economic development, human rights, and social progress. From its headquarters in New York City, the UN began its quiet work of diplomacy, humanitarian aid, and peacekeeping missions around the globe. While facing continuous challenges and criticisms, it has provided a crucial forum for dialogue, conflict resolution, and collective action on pressing global issues. The quiet commitment of nations to a shared vision of peace, even amidst ongoing tensions, laid the foundation for an enduring effort to build a more stable and cooperative world. The beginning of the Cold War, a bipolar world. Following World War II, a period of geopolitical tension and ideological rivalry known as the Cold War began, primarily between the United States and its Western allies, and the Soviet Union and its Eastern Bloc allies. Imagine a world silently divided into two spheres of influence, not by direct military conflict, but by a tense standoff characterized by espionage, proxy wars, and a nuclear arms race. This era, stretching from the late 1940s until the early 1990s, was driven by fundamental ideological differences between capitalism and communism. The two superpowers engaged in a competition for global influence, manifesting in various forms: the space race, the Berlin blockade, the Korean War, and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Despite moments of intense fear and brinkmanship, direct military confrontation between the two main adversaries was avoided, largely due to the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. The quiet, underlying tension of this prolonged global struggle profoundly shaped international relations, technology, and domestic policies worldwide, influencing nearly every aspect of life for over 4 decades. The Partition of India, birth of two nations. In August 1947, British India was partitioned into two independent nations, a predominantly Hindu India and a predominantly Muslim Pakistan. Imagine a subcontinent on the brink of independence, yet simultaneously grappling with deep-seated religious and communal divisions. This momentous event, intended to grant self-rule, also triggered one of the largest and most tragic mass migrations in human history, as millions of Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs moved across newly drawn borders. The partition was accompanied by widespread violence, communal riots, and immense human suffering, leaving a lasting scar on the region. While creating two sovereign states, it also resulted in enduring geopolitical tensions between them. The quiet decision made in distant colonial offices to divide a land and its people had profound and immediate consequences, shaping national identities, international relations, and the demographic landscape of South Asia. It was a complex, wrenching moment that brought both liberation and profound, lasting sorrow. The establishment of Israel, a new state in the Middle East. In May 1948, following the end of the British Mandate for Palestine and a United Nations resolution, the State of Israel was declared. Imagine a long-held dream for a Jewish homeland, re-established in the ancient land of Israel, finally coming to fruition after centuries of diaspora and the recent horrors of the Holocaust. This declaration was met with immediate recognition from some international powers, but also with intense opposition from neighboring Arab states, who viewed it as an occupation of Palestinian land. The day after its declaration, a war broke out between the newly formed Israel and a coalition of Arab nations, beginning a prolonged period of conflict in the Middle East. The establishment of Israel profoundly reshaped the political and demographic landscape of the region, creating new geopolitical alliances and persistent tensions. This quiet, yet historically resonant, act of state-building triggered decades of complex political struggles, human displacement, and ongoing efforts towards peace, continually influencing global diplomacy and regional stability. The Korean War, the Forgotten War. From 1950 to 1953, the Korean Peninsula became the battleground for a fierce and devastating conflict known as the Korean War. Imagine a nation divided after World War II, with a communist North backed by China and the Soviet Union, and a capitalist South supported by the United States and the United Nations. The invasion of the South by North Korea initiated a brutal proxy war that quickly drew in major global powers, escalating the Cold War beyond Europe. The fighting was characterized by intense, seesaw battles across the peninsula, with heavy casualties on all sides. Though an armistice was signed in 1953, officially ending the fighting, a formal peace treaty was never agreed upon, leaving the two Koreas technically still at war and divided by a heavily fortified border. This quiet, yet intense, conflict solidified the Cold War's global reach and established the precedent of limited wars fought to contain communism. It profoundly shaped the geopolitics of East Asia and left a lasting legacy of division and tension on the Korean peninsula. The discovery of the structure of DNA, unlocking life's code. In 1953, two scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick, working at Cambridge University, famously published their groundbreaking discovery of the double helix structure of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Imagine the quiet excitement in the laboratory as they pieced together the puzzle of life's fundamental molecule, building upon the crucial X-ray diffraction work of Rosalind Franklin and Maurice Wilkins. Their elegant model revealed how genetic information is stored and transmitted within living organisms. This discovery was not just a scientific breakthrough, it was a fundamental revelation about the very essence of life itself. It immediately provided a framework for understanding heredity, genetic mutations, and how traits are passed from one generation to the next. It laid the foundation for the entire field of molecular biology, paving the way for advancements like genetic engineering, forensic science, and personalized medicine. The quiet unraveling of DNA's secret structure opened up vast new frontiers of knowledge, profoundly reshaping biology and its applications to human health. Sputnik Launched, beginning the space race. On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. Imagine the small, spherical satellite, no bigger than a beach ball, quietly circling our planet, emitting simple radio beeps that could be picked up by amateur radio enthusiasts worldwide. This seemingly small achievement sent shockwaves across the globe, particularly in the United States, which had assumed technological superiority. Sputnik's launch ignited the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union, a fierce competition to achieve milestones in space exploration. It spurred massive investments in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education in both countries. Beyond the geopolitical rivalry, Sputnik symbolized humanity's newfound ability to transcend Earth's gravity and explore the cosmos. The quiet beeping from orbit heralded a new era of space exploration, fundamentally altering humanity's perspective on its place in the universe and inspiring generations to look upwards to the stars. The Civil Rights Movement in the U.S., a struggle for equality. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, the United States witnessed a powerful and transformative struggle for racial equality known as the Civil Rights Movement. Imagine the quiet courage of ordinary citizens, predominantly African Americans, who peacefully protested against segregation, discrimination, and systemic injustice. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. articulated a vision of a society where all individuals, regardless of race, were treated with dignity and had equal opportunities. Through nonviolent civil disobedience, boycotts, sit-ins, and marches, the movement brought about profound changes. Key legislative victories included the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which aimed to overcome legal barriers preventing African Americans from exercising their right to vote. The quiet perseverance of countless individuals gradually dismantled entrenched systems of racial oppression, fundamentally reshaping American society and moving it closer to its stated ideals of liberty and justice for all. The Cuban Missile Crisis, a brush with nuclear war. In October 1962, the world teetered on the brink of nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Imagine a tense, silent standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union, brought about by the discovery of Soviet nuclear missiles being secretly installed in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This posed an immediate and direct threat to American security, leading to a 13-day political and military confrontation that gripped the entire planet in fear. President John F. Kennedy imposed a naval blockade around Cuba, demanding the removal of the missiles, while Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev insisted on their right to place them there. Secret negotiations, back-channel communications, and cautious diplomacy ultimately led to a resolution. The Soviets agreed to remove the missiles in exchange for a U.S. pledge not to invade Cuba and a secret agreement to remove U.S. missiles from Turkey. The quiet, almost imperceptible tension of those 13 days highlighted the extreme dangers of the Cold War and the crucial importance of de-escalation, forever marking a somber lesson in global brinkmanship. The assassination of John F. Kennedy, a nation grieves. On November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, President John F. Kennedy was tragically assassinated. Imagine the sudden shock and profound sorrow that rippled across the United States and the world as news of the young president's death spread. His assassination, a quiet act of violence amidst a motorcade, plunged a nation into grief and disbelief, interrupting a presidency that had inspired hope and a sense of new frontiers. The events of that day, from the gunshots to the immediate aftermath, unfolded with a chilling swiftness that etched themselves into collective memory. Kennedy's vision of a new frontier, his charismatic leadership, and his efforts in areas like civil rights and space exploration had captured the imagination of many. His untimely death left a lasting impact on American politics and society, raising questions and fostering a sense of lost potential. The quiet solemnity of his funeral, watched by millions, underscored the deep sense of loss. This somber event marked a turning point for a generation, a quiet and sorrowful moment that continues to resonate with a sense of unfinished promise in American history. Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech, a vision of harmony. On August 28, 1963, during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. Imagine the vast crowd gathered peacefully before the Lincoln Memorial, listening intently as King's powerful voice articulated a profound vision of racial equality and justice. His words, delivered with a calming rhythm and resonant conviction, spoke not just to the immediate demands of the civil rights movement, but to the enduring aspirations of humanity for freedom and harmony. The speech eloquently called for an end to racial segregation and discrimination, expressing a hope for a future where people would be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. It became a defining moment of the civil rights movement, inspiring millions and becoming a timeless testament to the power of nonviolent protest and the pursuit of a more just society. The quiet resonance of King's dream continues to echo, a gentle reminder of the ongoing journey towards true equality and understanding. The moon landing. Humanity steps on another world. On July 20, 1969, humanity achieved an extraordinary feat. Two American astronauts, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, became the first humans to walk on the moon as part of NASA's Apollo 11 mission. Imagine millions of people across the globe, quietly gathered around television sets, watching in awe as a grainy black and white image showed Armstrong stepping onto the lunar surface and uttering his famous words. This monumental achievement was the culmination of years of intense scientific and engineering effort, a testament to human ingenuity and determination during the space race. The moon landing captivated the world, fostering a sense of shared human accomplishment and expanding the horizons of possibility. It showcased the immense power of collective ambition and technological advancement. The quiet footsteps on an alien surface, echoing across the vastness of space, subtly shifted humanity's perspective on its place in the universe. It was a gentle, yet profound demonstration of our capacity to dream big, to explore the unknown, and to extend our reach beyond our earthly home. The fall of the Berlin Wall, a symbol of freedom. On November 9, 1989, a truly unexpected and momentous event unfolded. The Berlin Wall, a physical barrier that had divided East and West Berlin for nearly 3 decades, quietly began to fall. Imagine a divided city, where families and friends had been separated by concrete and barbed wire for a generation. The wall stood as a stark symbol of the Cold War's division between Communist East and Democratic West. Years of growing dissent and peaceful protests within East Germany, coupled with political reforms in the Soviet Union, created an irreversible momentum. When an East German official mistakenly announced that citizens were free to cross the border immediately, thousands surged towards the checkpoints. Border guards, overwhelmed and without clear orders, simply opened the gates. The quiet chipping away of concrete by jubilant citizens, the joyous reunions, and the palpable sense of liberation spread quickly. The fall of the Berlin Wall was a quiet, yet powerful symbol of the decline of communism in Eastern Europe and a harbinger of the end of the Cold War itself, ushering in a new era of hope and reunification. The dissolution of the Soviet Union, the end of an empire. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union formally ceased to exist, quietly dissolving into 15 independent republics. Imagine a vast empire, stretching across 11 time zones and dominating global politics for over 70 years, peacefully dismantling itself. This momentous event marked the definitive end of the Cold War and the collapse of a superpower that had once seemed immutable. Factors contributing to its dissolution included economic stagnation, internal ethnic tensions, and the reformist policies of Mikhail Gorbachev, particularly glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring. The peaceful transition, though accompanied by periods of uncertainty and economic hardship for its citizens, averted what many feared could have been a violent collapse. The quiet lowering of the Soviet flag for the last time signified the end of a long ideological struggle and a new beginning for millions of people across Eurasia. The dissolution of the Soviet Union profoundly reshaped the global geopolitical landscape, ushering in a new era of international relations and leaving a lasting legacy on the nations that emerged from its vast territory. The invention of the World Wide Web, connecting information. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, at CERN in Switzerland, Tim Berners-Lee developed the fundamental technologies of the World Wide Web. Imagine a world where information was largely confined to physical books, specialized databases, or isolated computer networks. Berners-Lee's vision was to create a system where information could be easily linked and accessed by anyone, anywhere, using simple hypertext links. He developed the first web browser, the first web server, and the foundational protocols like HTTP and HTML. In 1993, CERN made the web software freely available to the public, sparking its rapid, exponential growth. This quiet act of sharing technology democratized access to information on an unprecedented scale, transforming communication, commerce, and education. It laid the groundwork for the modern internet as we know it, connecting billions of people and countless pieces of information into a single, vast global network. The gentle click of a hyperlink, leading from one piece of knowledge to another, quietly began to weave the intricate digital tapestry that now defines much of human interaction. The first successful cloning, Dolly the sheep, ethical questions arise. In 1996, scientists at the Roslin Institute in Scotland announced a groundbreaking scientific achievement: the successful cloning of an adult mammal, a sheep named Dolly. Imagine the quiet, meticulous work in a laboratory, transferring the nucleus from a somatic cell of an adult sheep into an unfertilized egg cell, which then developed into a genetically identical copy. This was a monumental leap in biological science, proving that a mammal could be cloned from an adult cell, not just from embryonic cells. Dolly's birth sparked widespread scientific excitement, but also intense ethical debates globally. It raised profound questions about the nature of life, individuality, and the potential implications of human cloning. While the technique itself was complex and not immediately applicable to humans, it opened up new avenues for research in areas like regenerative medicine and agricultural production. The quiet bleating of a cloned lamb quietly propelled humanity into a new era of biological possibility, forcing a profound reflection on the boundaries and responsibilities of scientific advancement. The September 11 attacks, a day that changed the world. On September 11, 2001, the United States experienced a series of coordinated terrorist attacks that profoundly impacted global politics and society. Imagine the peaceful morning, abruptly shattered by the horrific images of commercial airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and a field in Pennsylvania. These acts of violence, carried out by Al-Qaeda, resulted in the deaths of nearly 3,000 people and sent shockwaves of fear and grief around the world. The attacks led to the launch of the War on Terror, initiating military interventions in Afghanistan and Iraq, and fundamentally reshaping international security policies, airport procedures, and surveillance measures globally. They also sparked a renewed focus on homeland security and intelligence gathering. The quiet, yet devastating, impact of those events reshaped global alliances, altered the balance between freedom and security, and left an indelible mark on collective memory, quietly but profoundly altering the course of the early 21st century. The launch of the International Space Station, a home in orbit. Beginning with the first module's launch in 1998 and continuously assembled in orbit until 2011, the International Space Station, ISS, became a symbol of international collaboration and scientific endeavor. Imagine a massive, complex orbital outpost, assembled piece by piece in the vacuum of space, far above the Earth. It brought together space agencies from the United States, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada, transcending political differences to pursue a shared goal of scientific research and exploration. The ISS serves as a unique microgravity laboratory, where astronauts from diverse nations conduct experiments in biology, physics, astronomy, and human health, contributing to our understanding of living and working in space. It has continuously hosted human presence since 2000, becoming a permanent orbiting laboratory and home. The quiet hum of its life support systems, orbiting silently above, represents a peaceful collaboration among nations, a continuous effort to expand human knowledge and extend our reach into the cosmos. The election of Barack Obama, a historic milestone. On November 4, 2008, Barack Obama was elected as the 44th President of the United States. Imagine the quiet anticipation and then the widespread jubilation and emotion as the results came in, marking a truly historic moment. His election was significant not only because he became the first African American to hold the nation's highest office, but also because it reflected a profound shift in American society and politics. His campaign, emphasizing hope and change, resonated deeply with many. His presidency faced numerous challenges, including a severe economic recession and complex foreign policy issues. Yet, his election symbolized a breaking of barriers and a step towards a more inclusive vision of American leadership. The quiet power of the ballot box and the collective will of millions of voters subtly yet profoundly altered the historical narrative of a nation, demonstrating the ongoing evolution of its democratic ideals and the pursuit of a more perfect union. The discovery of the Higgs boson, unveiling the God particle. In 2012, at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, scientists announced the momentous discovery of the Higgs boson, a fundamental particle predicted by the Standard Model of particle physics. Imagine the quiet, colossal efforts of thousands of scientists and engineers over decades, building and operating the Large Hadron Collider, a massive underground accelerator designed to recreate conditions from the early universe. This tiny, elusive particle, often called the God particle, plays a crucial role in giving other fundamental particles their mass. Its discovery was a profound validation of our understanding of the universe's fundamental building blocks and the forces that govern them. It filled a crucial gap in the Standard Model, providing a deeper insight into how matter acquires its properties. The quiet, persistent search for this minuscule particle culminated in a discovery that reshaped our understanding of cosmic mechanics, a gentle confirmation of the intricate beauty woven into the fabric of reality. The rise of social media, connecting the world in new ways. Beginning in the early 2000s, with platforms like MySpace, Facebook, and later Twitter and Instagram, the rise of social media quietly but profoundly transformed how people connect and communicate globally. Imagine a time when personal communication was largely limited to phone calls, letters, or in-person meetings. Suddenly, individuals could share their thoughts, experiences, and photos with vast networks of friends and strangers, bridging geographical distances instantaneously. Social media platforms created new virtual communities, facilitated movements for social change, and reshaped industries from news to marketing. They blurred the lines between personal and public life, offering unprecedented avenues for self-expression and interaction. The quiet tapping on keyboards and screens connected billions, subtly altering the dynamics of relationships, influencing public discourse, and creating a new global digital tapestry woven from countless individual voices. The Arab Spring, waves of protest and change. Beginning in late 2010, a series of anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions, collectively known as the Arab Spring, swept across much of the Arab world. Imagine the quiet simmering of discontent over authoritarian rule, economic stagnation, and human rights abuses, suddenly erupting into widespread demands for democracy and reform. Sparked by the self-immolation of a street vendor in Tunisia, the protests quickly spread, facilitated by social media and a shared sense of grievance. From Tunisia to Egypt, Libya, Yemen, Syria, and Bahrain, citizens took to the streets, calling for change. While some regimes were overthrown, others faced prolonged civil wars or violent suppression. The Arab Spring demonstrated the powerful, yet often unpredictable, force of popular movements in an interconnected world. The quiet courage of individuals raising their voices in protest subtly, yet profoundly challenged long-standing power structures, reshaping the political landscape of a crucial region and inspiring aspirations for freedom across the globe. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change, a global commitment. In December 2015, representatives from nearly every nation in the world gathered in Paris and adopted the Paris Agreement, a landmark international treaty on climate change. Imagine the quiet, yet determined, negotiations as countries put aside differences to forge a common path forward in addressing one of humanity's most pressing challenges. The agreement's central aim is to substantially reduce global greenhouse gas emissions, to limit the global temperature increase in this century to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue efforts to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. It established a framework for countries to submit their own national climate action plans and regularly report on their progress, fostering transparency and accountability. The Paris Agreement signaled a collective recognition of the urgency of climate action and a global commitment to a sustainable future. The quiet consensus among nations, agreeing to work together to protect our shared planet, subtly yet profoundly shifted the global response to environmental challenges, offering a gentle beacon of hope for future generations. The first successful CRISPR gene editing in human embryos, ethical frontiers. In 2015, scientists in China published research detailing the first successful attempt to modify the DNA of human embryos using CRISPR-Cas9 technology. Imagine the quiet precision of molecular tools, capable of editing genes with unprecedented accuracy, raising both immense hope and complex ethical questions. CRISPR allows scientists to precisely cut and replace specific sections of DNA, offering the potential to correct genetic mutations that cause inherited diseases. While this initial research used non-viable embryos, it sparked immediate global debate about the responsible use of such powerful technology, particularly concerning germline editing that could pass changes to future generations. The quiet work in the laboratory opened up revolutionary possibilities for treating genetic disorders and preventing inherited diseases, but also necessitated a profound societal discussion about the ethical boundaries of altering the human genome. It was a gentle, yet epic-making step into a new frontier of biological manipulation with far-reaching implications. The COVID-19 pandemic begins, a global health crisis. In late 2019, a new virus, SARS-CoV-2, emerged in Wuhan, China, rapidly escalating into the COVID-19 pandemic that profoundly impacted every corner of the globe throughout 2020 and beyond. Imagine the quiet, initial reports of a mysterious respiratory illness, quickly spiraling into a global health crisis that forced societies into unprecedented lockdowns, disrupted economies, and strained healthcare systems worldwide. The virus spread rapidly through communities, leading to millions of infections and deaths. The pandemic compelled rapid scientific innovation, leading to the remarkably swift development of new vaccines and treatments. It also fundamentally altered daily life, from remote work and online learning to social distancing and widespread mask wearing. The quiet, pervasive threat of an invisible pathogen profoundly reshaped global health, economic stability, and human interaction, leaving a lasting mark on public policy, technological adoption, and our collective understanding of resilience and interconnectedness. The successful landing of the Perseverance rover on Mars, expanding robotic exploration. On February 18, 2021, NASA's Perseverance rover successfully landed on the surface of Mars in the Jezero crater. Imagine the quiet tension in mission control, thousands of miles away, as the complex 7 minutes of terror, entry, descent, and landing sequence unfolded autonomously. Perseverance, accompanied by the Ingenuity helicopter, was designed to search for signs of ancient microbial life, collect rock and soil samples for future return to Earth, and test technologies for future human exploration. Its successful landing and subsequent operations represent a remarkable achievement in robotic space exploration, pushing the boundaries of what is possible in planetary science. The rover's quiet, methodical movements across the Martian landscape, gathering data and capturing stunning images, offered humanity unprecedented views of an alien world. It was a gentle, yet profound, extension of human curiosity, silently exploring the red planet and bringing us closer to understanding its history and potential for life beyond Earth. The first image of a black hole, visualizing the unseen. In April 2019, the Event Horizon Telescope collaboration unveiled the first-ever direct image of a black hole's event horizon. Imagine the quiet, synchronized operation of a global network of radio telescopes, effectively creating an Earth-sized virtual telescope. This immense scientific undertaking aimed to capture the shadow cast by the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy Messier 87 M87. For decades, black holes had been theoretical concepts, inferred from their gravitational effects but never directly observed. The resulting image, a luminous ring of light surrounding a dark central region, provided astonishing visual confirmation of Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity in extreme conditions. It offered a quiet, profound glimpse into one of the most enigmatic objects in the universe, challenging our intuitive understanding of space and time. This gentle visualization of the unseen deepened humanity's comprehension of cosmic wonders, revealing the universe's powerful and mysterious depths. The launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, a new eye on the universe. On December 25, 2021, the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, a groundbreaking space observatory, was launched into orbit. Imagine a complex, intricately folded instrument, carefully deploying its vast sunshield and golden mirror segments in the cold vacuum of space, over 1 million miles from Earth. Designed to be the premier observatory of the next decade, JWST observes primarily in infrared light, allowing it to peer through dust clouds and observe extremely distant faint objects, including the first galaxies that formed after the Big Bang. Its unprecedented capabilities promise to revolutionize our understanding of the universe's origins, the formation of stars and planets, and the search for life beyond Earth. The quiet unfolding of this technological marvel in space represents humanity's continuous quest to understand its cosmic origins and place. Its gentle, silent gaze into the deep past of the universe promises to reveal wonders and inspire awe, bringing distant light to our understanding of the cosmos. The Russo-Ukrainian War Begins, a reshaping of geopolitics. In February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, significantly escalating the conflict that had begun in 2014. Imagine the quiet early hours shattered by the sounds of invasion, as a sovereign nation faced a large-scale military assault from its neighbor. This event profoundly reshaped the geopolitical landscape of Europe and the world, challenging the post-Cold War international order and leading to widespread condemnation and sanctions against Russia. The war triggered a massive humanitarian crisis, with millions of Ukrainians displaced and immense destruction of cities and infrastructure. It also prompted significant military and financial support for Ukraine from Western nations and revitalized alliances like NATO. The quiet determination of a nation defending its sovereignty against overwhelming odds subtly yet profoundly altered global security dynamics, leading to renewed focus on national defense, energy independence, and international solidarity. It stands as a stark and somber reminder of the ongoing fragility of peace. The discovery of insulin, a life-saving breakthrough. In 1921, a remarkable medical breakthrough occurred with the discovery of insulin by Frederick Banting and Charles Best, under the guidance of John MacLeod and James Collip at the University of Toronto. Imagine a time when a diagnosis of diabetes, particularly type 1, was often a death sentence, leading to a slow and painful decline. The researchers' quiet, persistent work involved extracting a substance from the pancreas that could regulate blood sugar in dogs. This discovery revolutionized the treatment of diabetes, transforming it from a fatal disease into a manageable condition. The first human patient, a 14-year-old boy, received insulin in 1922 and showed dramatic improvement. This quiet triumph of medical science offered new life and hope to millions around the world, fundamentally altering the prognosis for countless individuals. The gentle, consistent administration of this vital hormone allowed people with diabetes to live full and productive lives, a profound testament to the power of scientific inquiry for human well-being. The invention of the transistor, the dawn of the digital age. In 1947, at Bell Labs, John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley invented the transistor. Imagine a world where electronic devices relied on bulky, fragile, and energy-inefficient vacuum tubes. The transistor, a tiny semiconductor device capable of amplifying or switching electronic signals, was a quiet, unassuming invention that would profoundly change the course of technology. Its small size, durability, and low power consumption made it far superior to its predecessors. This invention laid the fundamental groundwork for the entire digital revolution. It enabled the creation of smaller, faster, and more powerful electronic devices, from radios and televisions to computers and smartphones. The quiet clicks of microscopic transistors, rapidly switching on and off, became the unseen engine driving the modern world, making possible the vast interconnectedness and computational power we experience today. It was a gentle spark that ignited the explosion of modern electronics, quietly ushering in the information age. The first organ transplant, expanding medical possibilities. On December 23, 1954, Dr. Joseph Murray performed the first successful human organ transplant, a kidney transplant between identical twin brothers, Ronald and Richard Herrick, at Peter Bent Brigham Hospital in Boston. Imagine the quiet tension in the operating room, the meticulous precision of the surgeons, as they attempted a procedure that had previously been considered impossible. This groundbreaking surgery opened a new chapter in medicine, offering hope to patients with end-stage organ failure. While early transplants faced significant challenges, particularly the body's rejection of foreign organs, this initial success paved the way for advancements in immunosuppressive drugs and surgical techniques. The quiet courage of the donor and recipient, and the visionary skill of the medical team, fundamentally expanded the realm of what was medically achievable. It was a gentle, yet profound step towards extending and improving human life, quietly revolutionizing the treatment of chronic diseases and transforming countless lives. The first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova. On June 16, 1963, Valentina Tereshkova, a Soviet cosmonaut, became the first woman to travel into space. Imagine the quiet determination of this textile factory worker turned cosmonaut, strapping into the Vostok 6 capsule, embarking on a 3-day mission orbiting the Earth 48 times. Her flight was a powerful symbolic achievement for the Soviet Union during the space race, showcasing the capabilities of their space program and promoting gender equality in a highly visible arena. Tereshkova's mission demonstrated that women could endure the rigors of spaceflight just as effectively as men, challenging preconceived notions about who could be an astronaut. Her quiet journey beyond Earth's atmosphere inspired women and girls around the world to pursue careers in science and technology. It was a gentle, yet monumental step in human exploration, showing that the cosmos was open to all, silently breaking barriers and inspiring dreams of celestial voyages for future generations. The Internet becomes public, connecting the world's computers. In 1995, the U.S. government fully privatized the Internet, removing its last restrictions on commercial traffic and opening it up for widespread public and commercial use. Imagine a network once primarily confined to academic and research institutions, quietly blossoming into a global phenomenon accessible to everyone. While the technical foundations of the Internet and the World Wide Web were already in place, this deregulation allowed for unprecedented commercial investment and public access. This pivotal moment led to the rapid expansion of Internet service providers, web development, and e-commerce, fundamentally transforming how businesses operated and how individuals accessed information and communicated. The quiet click of a dial-up modem, connecting homes to the vast digital network, subtly yet profoundly ushered in the era of online communication, entertainment, and commerce, forever changing daily life and creating a truly global information society. The release of the first iPhone, redefining mobile technology. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs introduced the original iPhone, a device that would fundamentally redefine mobile phones and personal technology. Imagine a world where cell phones were primarily for making calls and sending texts, then suddenly presented with a device that combined a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator into a single, elegant device with a revolutionary multi-touch interface. The iPhone was not just a new product. It was a new paradigm for human-computer interaction. Its intuitive design, app ecosystem, and seamless internet connectivity rapidly set new industry standards and sparked a global revolution in smartphone adoption. It transformed how people consumed media, communicated, worked, and interacted with the digital world. The quiet swipe of a finger across a glass screen subtly yet profoundly changed daily habits, creating an always-connected personal device that integrated technology deeply into the fabric of modern life around the world. The legalization of same-sex marriage in the U.S., expanding civil rights. On June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Obergefell v. Hodges that the right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples by the U.S. Constitution. Imagine the quiet, persistent efforts of activists and legal advocates over decades, challenging discriminatory laws and advocating for equal rights. This landmark decision made same-sex marriage legal nationwide, a profound victory for LGBTQ+ rights and a significant expansion of civil liberties. The ruling marked a culmination of years of legal battles, social movements, and shifting public opinion, recognizing the fundamental right of all individuals to marry the person they love. The quiet joy of couples finally able to legally formalize their unions, and the celebrations that ensued, subtly yet profoundly altered the social landscape, affirming dignity and equality for millions. It was a gentle, yet momentous step towards a more inclusive society, recognizing love and commitment regardless of gender. The Me Too movement gains momentum, speaking truth to power. In 2017, the Me Too movement, originally founded by Tarana Burke in 2006, gained global prominence as millions of people, primarily women, came forward to share their experiences of sexual harassment and assault. Imagine the quiet strength of individual voices, once silenced by fear or shame, rising together in a collective chorus, sharing their stories using a simple hashtag on social media. This widespread outpouring of testimony brought unprecedented public attention to the pervasive issue of sexual misconduct across various industries and walks of life. The movement sparked vital conversations, exposed powerful abusers, and led to calls for accountability and systemic change. It encouraged a deeper examination of power dynamics, consent, and workplace culture. The quiet bravery of survivors speaking their truth subtly yet profoundly shifted societal norms and expectations, empowering others to come forward and fostering a global dialogue about respect, safety, and justice for all. The discovery of gravitational waves, hearing the universe's whispers. In 2015, scientists at the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO, announced the first direct detection of gravitational waves, ripples in spacetime predicted by Albert Einstein a century earlier. Imagine the quiet, painstaking work of ultrasensitive detectors, designed to measure infinitesimal distortions in spacetime caused by cataclysmic cosmic events, such as the collision of two black holes millions of light-years away. This groundbreaking discovery opened a new window onto the universe. Until then, astronomy had relied primarily on electromagnetic waves like light and radio waves. Gravitational waves offer a completely new way to observe the cosmos, allowing scientists to hear the universe's most violent events directly, rather than just seeing their light. The quiet hum detected by LIGO, originating from distant cosmic mergers, subtly yet profoundly confirmed a fundamental aspect of Einstein's theory and inaugurated the era of gravitational wave astronomy, expanding our senses to perceive the universe's deepest tremors. The rise of AI and machine learning. Intelligent machines emerge. Beginning in the early 21st century and accelerating dramatically in recent years, the fields of artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, have experienced an unprecedented surge in development and application. Imagine complex algorithms and vast datasets quietly analyzing information, learning patterns, and making predictions or decisions with increasing sophistication. From natural language processing to image recognition and autonomous systems, AI has begun to permeate nearly every aspect of daily life. This quiet revolution in computing has led to advancements in countless fields, from medicine and scientific research to transportation and entertainment. It raises profound questions about the nature of intelligence, the future of work, and the ethical implications of creating increasingly autonomous systems. The quiet processing of data by intelligent machines subtly yet profoundly reshapes industries, redefines human capabilities, and prompts humanity to consider its relationship with the technology it creates, setting the stage for an evolving future. As our journey through these 100 fascinating historical events comes to a gentle close, allow any remaining thoughts to dissipate, like whispers carried away by a soft breeze. We have traversed vast stretches of time, touching upon moments of ingenuity, transformation, and quiet significance. From the first seeds of agriculture to the subtle complexities of the modern world, each event has contributed to the grand tapestry of human existence. There is a profound sense of peace in recognizing the cyclical nature of time, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the enduring spirit of humanity. These historical echoes, once vibrant and bustling with life, now settle into a calm and steady rhythm, guiding you towards a state of deep relaxation. Perhaps a particular event lingered in your mind, or perhaps the flow of narrative simply helped to quiet the day's distractions. Whatever your experience, know that the past is a rich wellspring of knowledge, always there to offer its lessons and its quiet comfort. As the last echoes of history fade and the quiet of the night deepens, surrender to the gentle pull of sleep. Let your mind rest, knowing that the journey through time, like all journeys, eventually leads to a peaceful destination. May you find profound rest and awaken feeling refreshed and renewed. Good night.